Good morning. So I thought, we haven't worked on vellum for a while, and I've been seeing some cards with it, and I thought it was really nice. So I thought we would make this fun turtle card. So the idea is, vellum is very hard uh, to adhere without seeing the adhesive. So I thought this was very clever to use it, and we're going to put it in a frame so that the adhesive doesn't show so much. So I'm starting with a piece of Coastal Cabana, and it's a regular 8.5 by 5.5. Make a A2 size card. Didn't get my button folder out, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, and then I cut a piece of vellum that was our usual mat size of 4 by 5.25. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the embossing just so I didn't have to do the embossing done on video, but you can see that's just the normal size that we would have cut for a mat for the front. And I've embossed, this time I embossed the turtles on top. Last time I embossed the shells. Okay. Then you're going to take two pieces of white or whatever color you want your frame to be. And I cut those just a smidge larger. So I went, 4 and added about 1/8 of an inch, and I went 5.25 and added about 1/8 of an inch because I didn't want the vellum to show on the outside when I stick it inside the frame. The reason that I'm cutting the two at the same time is so that the frames will be exactly the same. If you cut them out separately, one may be a little bit off kilter and it wouldn't line up perfectly. So you can cut ovals, you could cut a circle. If you don't have dies, you could cut with your trimmer, but make sure that you cut the two at the same time. That's the main idea with this. And because it's two pieces, it takes just a little bit more to get it out of the frame. Okay, so there's my two pieces there. And then I will take these two. See, they're layered together. And I use that then, see, on the inside of the card. Just pull those apart. Okay, and then you'll have one left over. All right, so I have my two frames. And again, we got to kind of pull those apart. Just be careful. It's because when you're cutting the two, and these have those nested shapes, so it's got the little indentations, it takes a little bit more. And then make sure that you don't, that you keep them the same way so that you don't end up, putting this one the other way because then they're not going to match up exactly. And if you have any little doodads like I do there, you can either trim them off with your snips or you can like sand them off. Okay, so we're going to use ours this way. Now, like I said, I had already, keep everything so it's going the same way. I had already embossed the turtles on the front. So whatever you want to be the focus, here it was the shells, here it was the turtles, you want to emboss on the front. And remember, use your embossing buddy so that you don't get the static. Stamp it either in pigment ink or in your Versamark, and then add the white powder and heat emboss it. Use your heat gun so that it sets. All right, so then we're going to turn it over. So we're now stamping on the back side, and I'm going to add the shells. And I'm going to add those in. Tahitian Tide is what I used here because I want it to be darker than the Coastal Cabana. We had a color a while back called Bermuda Bay that would have been pretty with this too. Okay, so I'm going to stamp some starfish, and there it is. Have my block. Okay. Again, I'm just stamping on the back. You can stamp over the area where the white is, or you can try to stay kind of, not around it, because when you turn it over, so you're not going to see those as um, heavy as you would if we were stamping on the same side. Just clean my stamp off. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do some sand dollars because I like those. There's just 3 of those. And again, I'm usually stamping in odd numbers, so I stamped 5 of the original starfish and then just 3 of the sand dollars. And then I'll fill in a little bit more with my small starfish. One, 2, maybe 3 of those, and that'll be it. Okay, now, as you know, if you've worked with vellum at all, vellum takes a little while to dry. So you can go ahead and sit it to the side and work on other things, or you can use your heat tool to dry it. And I'm just going to keep it sitting aside for a little bit while we finish up what we're going to do with the card. Now on this one, I also can barely see it, but I stamped some fish in the coastal cabana right on the card base itself. So I'm going to do that again. I think it gives it just a really, really subtle background, and you then have kind of layers, giving it like some depth. Certainly do not have to do this step. And this can work with any stamps. I've seen it done most often with flowers and leaves, where you stamp one flower, emboss on the top, and then you're stamping the leaves and things underneath. But you know how I love my turtles, so I am using them for this. Okay. So now, when we're ready, now again, too, if I want to stamp on this, I want to do that before I'm going to put it in the frame. I think that side might be a little bit wider. Maybe not. Okay, and I'm going to do this again just as a reminder that you can. I have this happy birthday that's on this translucent florals, which actually I had out because I thought I might do this vellum technique with that, but I went back to the turtles instead. And I have a happy birthday, but of course that won't fit here. Now you could easily take one of your word window punches, and stamp something and then add it on the top. But I just wanted to put the little subtle thing down the side. So when you've got words like this and you only want to use part of it, you can take your marker and just color in the part or the word that you want to use. And I usually huff on it to kind of reactivate the ink. And then you can stamp it. Go. Now, because this is not a clear stamp, I'm kind of I'm gambling here, but even when this one, see, it came out not the same height, I think it still looks cute. It's like I pretend, I wanted to do it that way. That's what I'm pretending. I meant for it to be like that. Who likes everything all lined up every time? Well, a lot of people do, but not me. Okay. Let's see if I can get the... Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so remember, you don't always have to use the whole stamp when you're stamping. Okay. So now, to put this together, That's going to be my top frame. This is going to be my bottom frame. Again, I don't want to turn this over or anything. I want to use it just like this because then they're going to exactly match up. Okay, now these are probably not completely dry, but I'm not going to be messing with them. So, and if you ever want to check, if you just touch it and see if there's ink on your finger, these actually look like they're probably pretty dry. And I want to adhere this with the turtles, the embossed side up. I'm just laying that down and I'm going to put some adhesive, liquid adhesive. I suppose you could use your tape runner, but this is kind of a thin frame that I'm doing. If you've done a thicker frame, which you certainly can do any size frame you want, if I'd done a thicker frame, then likely you'd be able to stamp more on it and maybe use your tape runner. All right, so I'm just going to lay that right down. Okay, and remember I cut the frame just a touch. See, had just barely a touch bigger because I didn't want the vellum hanging over the edge. Okay, and then I'm just going to put this one right on top. So now you have no adhesive at all showing through your vellum, which was the idea. And, vellum, we don't use it a whole lot because it does, you either need to emboss on it or you need to leave it to dry. And if you use a pigment ink on a vellum, it'll probably never dry. Pick it up 10 years from now, it'll still be wet. So you have to be very careful. So if you use the dye ink, it will dry. You'll be okay. And I'm using the liquid here again, so I have a minute to kind of move this around and make sure it's lining up exactly. There we go. All right. I thought it might even, okay, so this one, you have choices. So you can lay this flat, and then you see how you see the little hint of the fish behind? It's very subtle, but it's there. Or if you pop it up a little bit, and I'm going to do that with this one. If you pop it up a little bit, you get kind of a lighter color. And I'll show you what I mean, because I put this one down flush, and I'm going to pop this one up just to show you a little bit different. I do love working with vellum. You see it a lot, of course, with like fancy invitations and wedding cards and things like that, but you can use it anytime. I just forget to bring it out because I don't keep it with my regular paper. I have a little kind of a plastic file thing that I keep my specialty papers in. And I forget to bring it out and use it. These thin strips, if you don't have the thin strips, you can use your regular dimensionals and just cut them in half or thirds or something, whatever you would need to do so that they would be thin enough. And again, I made my frame very thin, but it could definitely be thicker. That would give you more room to stamp a sentiment on it, as well as more room to put your adhesive down. Okay. So now, again, now I don't need to get this on here first try. It's not bad. Okay, so these are a little bit thicker, of course, to put through the mail. So you can see that I've got it bounced up. In this case, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, except that you can hardly see the fish. See here, you can hardly, unless I press it down, you can't see the fish. Here you can see the fish better. Okay. And then I would just take this piece that I had extra from the frame and I put that inside to do my writing on. So I hope that if you've got some vellum and you've been wanting to use it, that you might try this, stamping on both sides, embossing on the front side, stamping with color on the back side, and then popping it in a frame so that you don't have to worry about your adhesive showing. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.